Okay. Okay. It's 5:30, Tuesday, July 3rd, and welcome to the Stephenville City Council meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and tonight I've asked Councilman Carla Trussell to lead us in the pledge. If you'll stand with me. Thank you, Ms. Trussell. Tonight, we're honored to have David Whiteman from the Grace Fellowship Church to lead us in our invocation.
Thank you. Our Heavenly Father, I can't tell you how exciting it is to be here tonight on the eve of a great celebration of one nation under God. Come here tonight to thank you once again for your wisdom and guidance to the original framers of the freedoms that were given to us, a nation that would be given encouragement and a culture and laws to pursue happiness. What an amazing accomplishment that you accomplished in the minds of men. And they penned these words and we still live by them today. We want to thank you. We want to take this moment now to thank you for tomorrow, the celebration that will take place, that we truly are a people that can govern one another under God. We thank you for the diligence that you have shown through the years to bring us back to an understanding that you are good, and that it has never been your desire to control us. It's always been your desire to care for us. We're now ready for you to do that. We thank you for the desire of the government to, here in this place, to create a culture of honor, a culture of respect, a culture of integrity, a culture of honesty, and so that we might thrive as citizens in this place. A culture where we can honor you as well. We pray, Father, as we have come to recognize you, you will recognize us and shine your favor upon us. And that in every area our citizens will find blessing and peace, prosperity and goodness. Pray, Father, the atmosphere would be different in this place and people would come and feel it. Even if we can't define it, we will know what they mean. Our Father, we just ask your blessing on tonight. We thank you for those that you put in place, as they did not come without prayer and supplication before the Lord of the citizens, and so we know they are your choice. And they serve at your bidding. Our Father, we just ask, if it wouldn't be too much, please send some rain. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. When you get a chance, everyone needs to ask David about his trip to Central America and his leadership work down there and mission work. Appreciate what you've done. We're going to change the agenda one item. We're going to take item 1, which is citizen general discussion, move it to item 2. And we're going to move up to item 2 for a special recognition for Noah. He was the North Central Texas Council of Governments 911 Kid Hero Award recipient. And Jason, our chief, is here to make the presentation. And I specifically asked him to come. We made a great presentation across the street, but I asked him to come because he has lots of friends he'll be watching on television. He can make a video of it for posterity's sake. So
Absolutely.
I want to make sure he was able to do that. So
Noah, and your parents, come on up. Put you guys right out here in the middle. And so, yes, Mayor's correct. Last Monday evening over at the plaza, Noah was recognized as North Central Texas COG 911 Kid Hero, and the police department also recognized him, and Representative J.D. Sheffield. And it resulted from a call to the police department back on March 29th. His mom had suffered some severe medical distress, and Noah was able to call 911 and remain calm and give all the needed information to our dispatch and basically save mom's life and get our paramedics there where they could give the care that she needed. And one of the comments last week that Dr. Sheffield made that really kind of stuck with me is that he's a medical doctor, and so he knew all the kind of intricacies of what was going on with you, and noted that would have been a tall feat for an adult to do and stay calm and give the information. And so I think that really highlights even more the amazing accomplishment of Noah. And so we just wanted to come back one more time this evening and recognize Noah and thank him again publicly in front of the community. So thank you, Noah.
Hopefully we'll have an opportunity for all of us to learn from Noah and his experience, and are able to do the same thing for others as well when the opportunity arises. Okay, I'm going to open up for general citizen discussion. And if you're wanting to have a conversation with us, please do so. You need to make sure you fill out your notice so you know who you are. Please state your name and your address before you come. You'll have 3 minutes, and Stacy will be keeping the time. I have one name so far that'd like to come and address us. Her name is Jean Edwards. Just come out, step up to the count here, and state your name and your address, please. Yes, right there at the podium, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah, pull it down there so we can hear you. Thank you, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. My name is Iris Jean Edwards, and I want to thank you for letting me address you tonight. And I ask you that I have a plea to ask you if there's anything that can be done about it. And I'm not a professional, so I just wrote some notes.
Okay.
And I'm a little unnerved, so I just wrote some notes. If you'll bear with me, I try to just be really simple about it. Let's see. This is about my husband, who served 8 years in prison, and he's been released, and he's had a lot of health problems: compound fracture, heart attack, and stroke. And we thought we had done everything we were supposed to do. Excuse me, had done everything we were supposed to do, and we had called and talked to sheriff's office and some officers there, and some. This may not be appropriate to y'all, but I'm getting to a question. Well, I'll say it, better say it faster. But we thought we'd done everything, and they told us just come by and check in when you come back here. Okay, we went there, and they told us that they didn't know for sure exactly, and we should go down to the police station. And that we hadn't called to them. And at that point, I guess an officer told us that we had my house was not in correct area, and the distance. He told us it was less. It was 883 feet or yards. I'm a little bit nervous. And I said, now the problem was the distance is underestimated completely, because I walked up there. Last night I walked up there to measure it, and it's 3 blocks. It's 3 blocks from my house to Hook Elementary. And it's 2.5 blocks to the parking lot of it, which is the edge of their property, I guess. And it's 2 blocks to a park. And it's a long ways, you know, it takes a long way. So I thought there was some kind of horrible mistake about, or some kind of I couldn't know how it happened, you know, that would be, it was supposed to be 1,000 and it was, said it was too close. And I thought something has happened that I don't really understand. Okay, the other thing is that I beg you to help, the theory about, I would have to say the theory itself, you said you had to speak about the rule would be, I would hate to say blatantly discriminatory to
Yes,
one
that
group
works.
of
Which one is
ex-convicts
that?
because he's gonna be in horrible problem for the rest of his life. Well, I would think they served their term. I know you've heard this before, but they served their term. They have paid their penalty. So to tell them they can't live at home, it's too hard. And the last thing I wanted to say, I'm sorry to take up your time, but the last thing I wanted to say was, in this time of more than 3 minutes of statewide catastrophes, hard times, homelessness, I would ask if there's some kind of looking into it that could have, so that he could stay at home. And I think it's, like I said, it's 883 yards, I would not think, to a school if it takes 3 blocks.
I'm assuming you've already spoken with the chief of police about it, or
No.
the staff of the police department about it. Ms. Edwards, the best we can do tonight is to refer it to staff to look into and make a recommendation back to us, and I'll be happy to do that tonight. That's y'all's pleasure. Well, thank you for coming very much. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who'd like to have a general discussion be brought before the council? Hearing none, then we'll go on to the next item, which is the Planning and Zoning Commission. Jeremy.
Applicant Joseph Borges requesting a rezone of lots 2, 3, and 4, block 14 of the First Fry Edition, City of Stephenville, Erath County, Texas, from industrial district to multifamily district. The current zoning is industrial. The comprehensive plan calls for it to be single family. I will add that our committee assembled to update the future land use is looking at this area to be multifamily in the future as we update that plan. Of course, that hasn't been adopted yet. The property is served by a 6-inch city water main as well as a sewer main, a 6-inch. The property is fronting Walnut. Can you go ahead and go to the next slide so they can see that, please? There you go. So this is the property that we're discussing here off Walnut. The property for which multifamily zoning is requested is bordered to the north by multifamily district. To the west is an industrial property that has a single-family home on it, and toward the east, across Belknap, is a vacant industrial lot. Staff is recommending a rezone of this property. Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-1 to recommend rezone of the property from industrial to multifamily. I can answer any questions you may have. You go
Any
ahead.
questions for Jeremy? Yes, Al.
Jeremy, the property adjacent to that is still industrial. Is there any plan to do anything with that, or is it gonna remain industrial?
Talking about to the west or to
Yeah, to the west.
To the west. Currently, there's a single-family home on that,
Okay.
that property. But the future land use committee is looking for that to be a multifamily in the future.
Is that the reason for going R3 instead of R1 with this request?
That's right. And a lot of it has to do, they plan on splitting that lot into 3, and the width of it'll be 50 feet wide. And it's the Habitat for Humanities, the group that's doing that, looking to build 3 houses on that. And because of the size of the lots in the surrounding lots, you're looking at 50 feet wide versus 75 feet. So, there isn't too many, there's some lots there that could be single family, but a majority of those lots are gonna be multifamily as far as the width. Now, however, you can still build, and that's the intention of building a single family home on it, but the zoning regulations will be R3, which is a smaller lot size.
Is there an easement or a right-of-way or something south of that?
South of,
South of the requested rezone?
for the railroad tracks, you mean?
No, between between those two properties, the triangular shaped property and then the one that's being requested to rezone?
Yes, there is an easement back there.
City owned?
Yes.
Okay. Does the city own that triangular shaped lot also?
Don't recall. I'm hearing yes, so yes.
Okay. Okay.
There's not, because of the size of that lot to the south, there's not a lot that would be permitted use if somebody was to buy that. So it's, it's a city lot. That's what it's probably gonna stay, I would guess, unless it was combined, like they decided to purchase it or something from the city or something, but that's speculation. I mean, we haven't even had any conversation like that, so.
I don't think it's large enough to allow even a single family residence.
It wouldn't be.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
That was the point I was getting at. There's not anything that we have that we could permit a use on that.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jeremy? Hearing none, I'll consider, do you have a consider an ordinance to be looked at tonight?
Open up the public hearing.
That's right, I'm sorry. Let's open this up for public hearing. Would you read the ordinance for the hearing, Stacy, so we'll know what we're considering?
The public hearing is to consider a rezone request for lots 2, 3, 4, block 14 of the Fry First Edition to the city of Stephenville from industrial to multifamily residential.
Okay, would anybody like to testify tonight in relationship to the proposal, either positive or negative? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and go see if there's a motion to be made.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 2018-0-23 as presented.
Mark made the motion and seconded by Stacy, or Sherry, I'm sorry. I just looked past you and saw her at the end of the room there. Okay, Sherry. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Carla, Tourism and Visitors Bureau Committee Report. And I just want to say, just my own, it's just Doug's editorial here. I appreciate all the work you put in on this. You and the staff, everybody else has done a really good job. I appreciate the hard work.
Okay, the committee met, and we have 3 people on that committee. There was a quorum of 2 present, so there were only 2 present. It was a very unusual meeting. The first item is the policy and procedures that have been adopted for the STVB, and Julie might want to say something about the procedures or policy if you have any questions about the new policy and procedures for the Tourism Bureau. That came with a positive motion to recommend to council that we adopt the new policy and procedures for the Tourism Bureau. Not, do we have a motion to?
Do I have a
adopt?
motion?
Yes, I move that we adopt the STVB policy and procedures.
Okay, Sherry makes the motion to adopt the Tourism and Visitor Bureau Policy and Procedures. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Brandon made the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion passes.
The rest of the meeting was on applications for hot funds. The first application is the Sundown on the Square application. They have asked for $5,000. This comes forward to council without a recommendation because since we only had 2 people present and I'm on the board of directors for the museum and we benefit from this, I recuse myself. So, they've asked for $5,000 that they're going to use for advertising. Sherry did indicate she was in favor of this. But
Yeah, before we realized we were asked.
And we do have those, some people here who can speak to this if you have any questions about the use of
Would you like to
funds.
make a presentation tonight? You came prepared? Any questions for that board? So it didn't come before the,
Because
Because there wasn't
I
enough folks.
recused myself and we didn't have
Okay.
anybody else there.
so I still can entertain a motion.
Yeah, Mayor, I move that we approve the hot application for Sundown on the Square for $5,000 for the event advertising.
Second.
Sherry made the motion and Mark seconded it.
And I'm still recusing myself from that vote.
Abstain.
Or
Abstain.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm abstaining from that vote.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the application for Sundown on the Square in a total of $5,000? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. This passes. All right, next item.
The next application for hot funds was from the Cowboy Capital Pro Rodeo Association. They asked us for $20,000 in funds. They were looking for a new sponsor. What level of sponsorship is it?
Title sponsor.
For the title sponsor. So this came forward with a positive recommendation that the city of Stephenville be the title sponsor for the rodeo at a cost of $15,000. And that does have a positive recommendation from the committee that we be title sponsor at $15,000. And they are here if you have any questions for
You
them.
have any questions? Hearing none, did I hear, did you make the motion, Carla? Is that
I
what you're?
didn't, we're waiting for a motion. I
Okay.
can.
I'll be happy to make a motion to approve the Cowboy Capital Rodeo Association in the amount of $15,000 to be the title sponsor.
Mark made the motion and Alan seconded it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed, motion passed. Item number 5.
This was a hot application from Stephenville Sox baseball tournament. They bring in out-of-town teams for a tournament. This is the second one I believe they've hosted this year. It does fill up our hotel rooms with families coming to these tournaments. They've asked for $1,800 to pay for field rentals and awards that came forward to council with a positive recommendation.
Any discussion, questions? Do I hear a motion?
Mayor, I move that we approve the hot application for the Stephenville Sox baseball tournament in the sum of $1,800 for field rentals and awards.
Do I hear a second? Mark seconded the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion passes. Next
Okay.
item.
The next item for discussion is the logo for our Tourism and Visitors Bureau. The logo will be, or it's recommended that the logo be designed by Twisted J's employees, Rayford Ramirez and Blue Dornan, at a cost of $500 to design the logo. That came forward with a positive recommendation to full council.
I want to make sure I'm on the right order here. That's.
Well, those are combined, but we handle those in committee as two different items, so I'm breaking them apart.
Okay, so we're doing,
Because that's, we're doing the $500 for the
So we're
logo,
doing
so it
7.
should be $10,000 for it should be broken apart, because that's how we handled it in committee.
okay. So
So
you're,
it's
so,
$500 for the logo for STVB, with a
All right.
positive recommendation for that.
okay. There's a second.
Second.
Carl makes a motion, Brandon seconds it. Any discussion? We're considering, this is the approval of the logo design, having a contract with logo design services with Twisted J for $500. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed, motion passes.
And the last item we considered was for website design and photography and video. I guess it's just photography, right? Website design, photography, video service, videography, in the amount of $10,000 with Fisher Renderneck of Flight Reach Productions. He'll be designing our website if we approve this, and it came forward with a positive recommendation for $10,000 for that.
Any questions?
And Fisher is here if you have questions.
Anybody want to, would you like to make a presentation? Would you like for him to come up and present?
I think I'll be okay tonight.
Okay. Do I hear,
Unless I need to, I'd be happy to.
anybody have any questions for them? Do I hear a motion?
I think, did you have a question?
Just one question.
Yes, sir.
So, Fisher, on that, does that include maintenance of some kind on the website, updating and
So the maintenance is included, it's broken down into there. I believe we're sort of lumping everything into one lump sum for a yearly maintenance.
It's included.
That answer your question?
I did.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I make the motion that we approve the contract with Fisher Renderneck and Flight Reach Productions, for $10,000 for website design and videography and photography.
Second.
Carl makes the motion and Sherry seconds it. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion passes.
And that concludes our report from our committee.
Thank you, Carla.
Yeah, there might be one point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
That we need to make.
Okay.
These are all hotel tax occupancy funds that we
Yes.
just expended for these various things.
Good point. Yes, all it is, this is all hotel and occupancy tax funds. Thank you. Public Health and Safety Committee report. Brady Pendleton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back on June 14th, the committee met. I was not present. My wife told me I should take her out of town for her birthday, and I do listen to some people. So I took her out of town, so I apologize for my absence. But it looks like the committee did just fine without me being there. In the agenda, of course, it indicates there was one matter for the committee to consider, and that was the approval of the lease contract, not lease contracts, approval of the ambulance permits for Caraflight and Republic EMS. By ordinance, they have to annually reapply with the city. In the committee, it looks like a favorable recommendation was made for both, to approve both of their permits as presented. So, any questions? Hearing none, I'll offer a motion at this time that we consider approval of the ambulance permits for Caraflight and Republic EMS Ltd.
Second.
Okay, Brady makes the motion and Mark seconds it. Just for point of clarification, Randy, do we have to break those apart? Can we make them in the same motion?
No, you can do
Okay.
it in one.
Any more discussion?
There was one question
Yes, sir.
about one of these whose insurance wasn't current at the time of the committee meeting. Has that been remedied?
There's the current insurance is attached in your packet. They did
Okay.
send it to me.
Other questions? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Ayes have it, motion passes.
And that concludes my committee report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Brady. Nominations Committee report, Red Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. On June 14th, the Nominations Committee met in order to recommend an appointment to full council for the Board of Adjustment seat vacated by Brandon Huckabee. The committee was unable to reach an agreement for any one applicant. Because of this, a meeting of the Nominations Committee met again today in the training room at 4:30. The following was discussed. The nomination committee shall review and make improvements to the applicant's selection, recruiting, and vetting process. This shall be completed in October of 2018. The nomination committee recommends that council appoints all current applicants to the Board of Adjustments in an alternating capacity. The alternates will serve by rotation. The recommended alternates are Devin Hanson, Russ McDowell, Chris Robertson, and Ben Tackett will continue to serve as alternate one. From those applicants, in considering any format improvements to the vetting process, the nominations committee will recommend a single individual to fill the seat vacated by Brandon Huckabee. This will occur at the November 2018 nominations committee meeting when citywide appointments are considered. That single individual will be recommended for council decision, and based on that decision, installed to the Board of Adjustments in January 2019. It's in my report.
Thank you.
If you need to make if you need a motion, I'll be willing to do that.
Yeah, I have just a comment, if you don't mind. I've had some feedback about the law and what it says, and so Randy and I and Alan will get together and discuss that at a later date, next day or so. Well, not tomorrow, Thursday or Friday.
Talking about the number of people to serve.
The timeframe of making the appointments.
That's also, I think, if we're gonna have an alternate to serve, I think we have to have 5 on there by the local government code and our ordinance as well to serve on the board.
It says we do have to do that. The question is, when do we have to make the timeframe we have to make the
Yeah, like I
appointments?
said, I don't think we have any ordinance regarding as far as filling those. Local government code law allows us to have the authority to do that, I think, but I don't think our ordinances have it. I'm looking at it now.
Okay. Well, you're welcome to come participate in that conversation. I think it'd be great for you to do as an attorney.
I trust Randy 100%, so he's got it handy. He makes the big bucks for a reason.
Okay. So you ready to make a motion?
Yeah. I make the motion that all three applicants be placed as alternates to the Board of Adjustments and will be designated as alternates 2, 3, and 4. Ben Tackett will continue as alternate 1. All alternates will serve in a rotational capacity decided by city staff.
Second.
Rick makes the motion to appoint the 3 individuals named to alternates on the Board of Adjustment, as well as leaving the one that's currently there, and Sherry seconds. Any more discussion?
Where does this leave us when y'all have y'all's discussion? Do we just come back to this?
I'm sorry.
When you have the discussion with Randy, if we're doing this properly?
I'll bring it, well, if there's
We'll
anything that
just
has
bring
to
it
happen,
back?
we'll bring it back to council.
I guess I've got one more question.
Yes, sir.
And I apologize, it's probably, I'm slowing things down because I wasn't there at the last meeting or this afternoon, but I guess what is the need to do all this as far as what's the issue with those being able to get somebody?
The fact, I think, one of the things that, what I was asked about was the process and how well we selected, how we go through the vetting process. Did we do a good job? Is the
Okay.
process fair and open?
As
And-
far as trying to fill the open spot?
Yes. And not just that spot, but all spots.
Okay. So this is not just applied just to the Board of Adjustments, but we're gonna look at this across the board for
Correct.
all positions we fill?
Yes. Any other questions?
I think I'll refrain from that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion passes. Community, anything else on your report?
No.
Community Service Report, Sherry Zachary.
Okay, the Community Services Committee met on June 14th, and we had several items before us. Did you want to come and make your presentation about it, or answer? Okay. If there's any questions. Probably about the FEMA grant proposal would be, there might be some questions regarding that.
Good evening. This is my first time to get up here.
Welcome.
So we applied for, or we have solicited an RFP for grant management for an HMA, a hazard mitigation grant. We received one application for GrantWorks, and at the time of their receipt, we spoke with GrantWorks, and they stated that there was quite a bit of funding available, but there was even more applications that were submitted. There was $1 billion allocated to Texas. There were $6.6 billion in requests. So they offered to tell us to do an NOI, a notice of intent, prior to pursuing the formal agreement with GrantWorks for that grant.
And that's where it stands, right? So we
Yes.
had, the council, or the committee recommended that staff take that action. And that was all that occurred on that. The
Okay.
next item was, there was a contract with On-Site Dance to utilize one of the rooms over at the rec center. And we had discussed the contract. This was actually the second meeting to discuss the contract. And it was recommended out of committee that we approve that contract getting signed.
Okay, so I hear a motion to approve a contract with On-Site Dance.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mark makes the motion that we approve a lease contract with On-Site Dance, and Carla seconds it. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed, motion passes. Thank you. Sherry?
And then the last item was the Sky High volleyball contract, and the contract was also presented, and Sky High agreed to the removal of the rental cap, and this contract is also brought forth for the council's approval.
Positive recommendation, okay. Anybody have a recommendation?
I'll
Or a
move
motion,
to-
I mean, excuse me.
I'll move to approve the contract with Sky High Sports as it's presented.
Mark makes the motion to approve the contract with Sky High Volleyball, and Alan seconds it. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed, motion passes.
And that was the extent of the community services, so we are done. Thank you, Jen, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Planning and Development Committee report. Mr. Huckabee.
All right, we met on June the 14th, discussed two items. The first item was to consider recommendation on the pro rata policy. Staff presented us with 4 options to consider. The committee voted and recommended to full council to discontinue the pro rata policy for all residential properties, but leave in place for commercial development.
Any questions?
Well, I don't have a question.
Comment?
I do have a comment.
Okay.
Because when this comes up, it's my intention to try to amend this to include some additional language. I was very passionate at the committee meeting about this. This has been a 3-year, my entire time on council, we've talked about this, and it's my intention, and it has always been my intention, to try to focus this from today forward. I can't really change what happened yesterday. I can make amends for it. That's what this ordinance does. But my focus has always been how do we move forward from today. And so, I mean, I'm happy to discuss this and kind of give you my reasoning behind this before the motion's made, or we can wait till the motion's made. And I
We'll
can
leave
try
that to you, however you want to handle that. You want to discuss it now, or you want to just wait, make the motion, amend the motion?
I'll make a motion and we get discussion
Okay.
on it. Mayor, I move we approve ordinance 2018-024.
And I second.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd move to amend that by inserting the language involuntary annexation in the part of the ordinance labeled 3B.
Okay, so we had to have a second on that as well, don't we?
Second.
Brandon seconds the motion, that the amendment that Mark makes. Okay, I'm assuming what we have to do is take up the amendment first, right, Randy?
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna now consider the amendment that Mark had, or, yeah, that Mark's brought to the committee, which is to add the language that says,
Involuntary annexation, so 3B would then read all, let's see, what would 3B read? So it would say all provisions that subjected residential property, or all provisions that subjected involuntarily annexed residential property to a reimbursement policy are void and of no effect. So I would ask to amend it by inserting the words, the 2 words, involuntarily annexed.
okay?
And then
So
the-
that doesn't really change anything, right?
So what it does is it makes a clear distinction between the 2 events, an involuntary
Voluntary or
annexation and a
voluntary.
voluntary. They're 2 separate events. This makes a clear distinction in the ordinance. And it's my belief that by doing that, we add some protections on both sides of the ledger. If there's a group in the ETJ that's facing down the barrel of a forced annexation some years in the future, we know that this would cause a specific cost to be associated with that annexation event. That would be whatever it costs to get the lines extended out through that annexed area to service these residential customers. So there's a specific cost. Easy to estimate. Once you have the estimation, you can do a simple cost-benefit analysis of that, provide and give it some numbers that would actually help drive the decision, make the decision easier to handle, I believe. And that would offer some protections to those folks out in the ETJ that were looking at this, because if the numbers come back against the city, a reasonable council seated probably wouldn't move in that direction. They'd probably go somewhere else. It also offers some protections on the other side, because again, the other side are the existing customers of the city utilities who are gonna be on the hook in the event of a forced annexation. And if having those 2 words in there does what I think it would do, then it's gonna offer them some protection. And it would also offer the existing customers some protection, because it lets them look at it and say, well, the city of Stephenville is not getting into the pipeline for free business. We've narrowly defined where the pro rata is gonna be applied and where it's not. So it's a distinct demarcation. And so I think that offers some protection for the existing customers. And then in addition, I've had some conversation with Mr. Barnes and Mr. Allen. There are also additional mechanisms that are in place in the state of Texas that can offer more protection for the city. I've requested that they bring forward a presentation of that, probably sometime after the budget cycle's over. They bring that forward, let the council take a look at it. If it makes sense for Stephenville, maybe we make a move on that. But to me, this is a simple way that we can clearly define the two separate and distinct events instead of just painting with broad brush.
Okay. Questions? Yes, Sherry.
How would this affect, and I guess this question's either to Jeremy or Mr. Barnes or Mr. Thomas. How does that affect, because it had come up during the council meeting, there were various vacant lots in the city that would have had, that weren't part of the particular annexation that we were talking about. How would inserting that phrase affect those properties that may have been vacant for a long time with pipe laid, 30 years ago?
I don't think it would, because I think the area that was annexed in 2007 is the only place that we've been, or the biggest place, especially, that we've been charging the pro rata. Mr. Williams, is that correct? So I don't think we have any other spots in town that would be impacted, either positively or negatively by this.
Okay, well, we had just had an extensive discussion about it, and that's why
For
I was
example, I
asking.
think it's Floral Street, I'm not sure, it's the street, 2 streets behind the post office. I know there's a vacant lot, and I believe the glass goes on it back there, there's no water to that lot. So would that pro rata charge apply to getting water to that lot when it's in the city limits? Because then it's a residential lot back there.
It would be up to the property owner to run that water.
So they would have to pay the pro rata charge.
There would not be a pro rata. They would, it's my understanding, they would have to pay for the pipe.
I just know of that lot, I know there's not water to that lot, so I wondered how that would affect that particular lot, because I think that's what you're asking about.
Well, that would
vacant
work
lots
just
in
like a
town.
developer. They would pay
Well,
to run it to their house.
Just like
Yeah,
your-
well, that's
wherever they are.
if it's not there.
Right.
What we were specifically discussing at the committee meeting was the vacant lots where it already is there, that off of the distant past, they would have owed the pro rata, but nobody's ever built on those lots. What about those?
Let's let Jeremy answer that
So we got
question.
2 scenarios, so let's just talk out in that area. I'm just gonna use Forest, for example. There's a road, there's pro rata established out there. There's maybe a lot in between 2 houses, which I believe is what she's referring to. It's undeveloped piece of property. There is a pro rata fee associated with that. So if a house, which in most of that out there is R1, so the use would probably be more likely be R1. But if there is a house that came in on that vacant lot, it would be a residential property, no pro rata charge for it. If there is a commercial property out there, and I'll use Forest example, there is some zoning on the very front of Forest that would come out there. They would be charged the pro rata that was established. However, the city does have mechanisms that, we can use 380 agreements or whatnot if it's a worthy cause and the council decides to do that. But that's the 2 examples there, and it's gotta be a business use, for that property. So I think to answer your question, now the other one, like on Floral, there's no pro rata established out there if there is not water and sewer, and we can run it, topography and all that doesn't affect, the developer's responsible for running that line, at that point,
Okay.
so.
Other questions?
So this language, the amended language, does not affect the other lot that
That's correct.
was between, okay,
Right.
thank you. That was my question.
Alan, you wanna say something?
Yeah, it's not a question necessarily, maybe a little editorialization.
Okay.
But it's my belief and my understanding that the pro rata policy was established many years ago to try to assure that the existing customers didn't subsidize future customers. And the thought behind that process was that if a developer develops, he pays the charge and puts the pipe in the ground, and he bears that cost. And then, in theory, at least divides that cost among the number of properties, whether it's 2 or 20. He adds that to the price of the property that he's developing. If an individual then builds a home on a residence, they have in fact developed that property, and they become the developer, and then they bear the cost for tying on to that. And the exception to that seems to be where the properties were annexed that had existing residences on them, and that's seems to be the point of contention now, because they were not given a choice about annexation. The city went in and laid the line to provide the service as we were told we were required to do by state law. And now I think that's under question even, whether we are required or not. There seems to be some question about that. But nevertheless, the policy was designed to let everyone bear a burden of their portion of the burden for the services that they used for water and sanitary sewer, rather than let the existing rate payers, the existing customers, fund that for future customers. I think that was the intent. This is a somewhat of a compromise, especially for the commercial properties, because they will still bear that burden themselves. For the existing customers that were annexed without their consent, and in many cases over their opposition, it provides them a mechanism to have the availability of what is in the street in front of their house in many cases. It may be the best compromise that we can come up with and provide the services to the residents in those areas. Those residents have become taxpayers, sometimes against their will, but they are taxpayers. They have an opportunity now to take advantage of our water and sanitary sewer service also, and that this may be the best compromise that we can come up with that will provide that for them.
Anybody else want to have something to say about it? Okay, we have a motion, a second, and an amendment in a second, so we're going to vote on the amendment first. So all in favor of the amendment, do we want to read it one time?
So the amendment is to amend section 3B to state all provisions that subjected residential property, let me get this right. All provisions that subjected involuntarily annexed residential property to a reimbursement policy are void and of no effect.
That's correct, okay. So we're going to vote on the amendment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. The motion to amend the original motion has passed. Now we'll go back to the motion itself. The amended motion, excuse me, itself, and have a vote on that. Whew. Thank you, Randy. Does anybody need to have the amendment with the motion with its amendment read?
Please.
Okay. I know you'd say that, Alan. Stacy.
So we are voting now to approve the amendment to the zoning ordinance to read, for section 3B, will now read, that all provisions that subjected involuntarily annexed residential property to a reimbursement policy are void and of no effect.
Okay, any questions about the motion that has now been approved for amendment? We'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Randy, anything else about your committee?
The other item that was discussed was just a general discussion about future land use, and that'll be coming back in the future. So, and that's it.
Thank you very much, sir. Monthly budget report. Ms. Harris, would you give us our monthly report?
Mayor, Council, this is for our month ending May 31st, 2018, which would be 8 months into our fiscal year. So our target percentage would be about 67%. Once again, we're heading on track where I anticipated us to be. Our property tax, we received $30,000 in the month of May, which is $521,000 over the funds that were collected through May 31st of last year. The county will normally collect about 98.21% of our property tax through May. This is 99.76% of our budget, so I really think we're going to hit our target budget. Our sales tax, we received $574,000 of sales tax in May, which is $173,000 over our target budget through May 31st. We received $128,000 or 3.29% more than last year. In our hot funds, this is a new item that I've added for you guys at Mr. Allen's Mr. Barnes's request. We've received $237,000 in pot funds through May. Last year it was $226,000, and we spent $225,000 in pot funds as compared to $210,000 last year. The target budget for operating revenue is $15.9 million. We've received $18.1 million, which is $2.2 million over budget, which is resulting from our property tax, as well as our sales and our other taxes. The target budget for operating expenditures is $12.9 million. We've expended $11.6 million, which is $1.3 million under budget. The operating revenue received last year was $17.6 million as compared to the current year's $18.1 million, resulting in $552,000 increase, which again has to do with property taxes and sales taxes. The operating expenditures last year was $11.8 million. The current year is $11.6 million, which is $198,000 decrease. And for our new programs, we have spent $443,489 of the $875,000 budgeted for our street pavement maintenance as of May 31st. Any questions?
Any questions for Monica?
Yes, sir.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Jump in there.
Monica, when y'all budget for the property tax, do y'all budget for 100% or do you budget for what they normally collect, which is 98 something?
Well, we budgeted for 99%.
Okay. So we're slightly above what we budgeted for then. And we normally collect close to that 99%, don't we?
Yeah, we normally collect, close to what we budget, yes.
Okay, all right.
It's just that, we're even doing better than what we budgeted, so.
That's a good problem to have.
Our citizens do a good job.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the
Thank you.
county does a good job.
Other questions for Monica?
I would just ask, this late in the year, are we on track to spend the entire street budget?
I believe we are. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's just the work gets done, and then the invoices come in, and then we pay for it, because I know some of this stuff has actually already been completed. hasn't
Right,
it?
we're at 85%.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the council to approve the financial report?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the financial report as presented.
Second.
Mark made a motion and Sherry seconded that we approve the financial report as presented. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion passes. Thank you, Monica. Good report. Stephenville Type B Economic Development Authority update. Ms. Feuerbacher.
Hello, hello. Good evening. Let's see. Perfect. Good evening, Mayor, Council. It's awfully good to hear about that increased sales tax before I get up and do my review and update. To start off, I want to just begin with excitement. The CETA staff is very excited that our new executive director is in place. The community support that we've been given and that he has met has been phenomenal, so I thank the community and our leaders for that as well. We're taking on meetings. He's met with over 40 people since hire. We're taking projects that have kind of been stagnant, moving those on, getting things accomplished, getting them off of middle, and we're looking forward at doing more. One thing we're going to do, Jeff has enjoyed being somewhat on a listening tour, really going around meeting, taking everything in, and just honing in on the data that he's collecting auditorily, and we're going to use that as we, go from this point. We're going to be data driven. He likes data, as do I, and so if you'll notice, this report's going to look a little bit different tonight. I will be emailing you all a copy of this so that if you cannot see it as you would like, it will come to you. But this is in conjunction with one of our partners, Texas Workforce Commission, Adam Kern. Many of you have met and probably had meetings with him, as well as MZ. This is the resource that we're using. These are partnerships that we can join in, data that we can use on our area. So this is one of the indicators, one of the visuals that we talked about at that original joint workshop session that we'll be tweaking, and more, you can expect more of this to come. As you can see, the economy overview, sorry about the size, like I said, that email will come, but we've got regional, state, and kind of a global viewpoint. We can see where we're at. We can see how Stephenville, Texas is registering. This is a trend, and the main thing is if you'll just look at that line graph there, the job trending in Erath County, and this is Stephenville's information. This is quarter 2 from 2018. So this is the most recent that they have. You can see that trend. And actually in 2012, well, perfect. It's trending and it's in an upward swing. The top growing industries, that's relevant to what you see as you drive through town. You know, Tarleton is one of our large employers. The manufacturing side, we're blessed with having, you know, big manufacturers in our area. And these graphs go to support that very, specifically. And we have these tools and we have this data, and we'll be putting that into form, into presentation styles that, you know, we all can use as tools. Again, the growing industry. Now, this is a location quotient, the top industries. This is a map or a chart that shows us what Stephenville is doing well in, where our strengths already lie. This isn't what's trending. This is showing us where our skill sets are. So when we're marketing on ourselves and we're going after job growth and development, this gives us a cue on where our citizens, what natural assets we have. So I'm very excited to dive into utilizing a location quotient and different formats like this. And then the education pipeline, that purple mark that you can see there, goes to show the impact that Tarleton has on our community. The bachelor's degrees, there's also certifications mentioned, so there's Ranger, Tarleton, and all of them, and the impact that having a skilled workforce can do for us. And then finally, bringing it back a little step closer, looking into all of this data and using it as a marketing piece for economic development is crucial. But business retention expansion is also an asset. And I know as a team, Jeff and I want to move forward, taking care of Stephenville and making ourselves strong, and then looking out to bringing others in. Kurt, if you'll hop back to that one just a second. If you look here, listed is several. There's 6 local manufacturing examples. Fibergrate, they're currently employing 145 people. Tejas Tubular, 151. FMC 780, St. Gobain 480, Square One Machining 33, Palcon 100, Tarleton 1200, Outlaw Conversion, which is also Emerald Coach, they're at 100. All of those have a star beside them because they have mentioned or are currently in expansion, whether it's, you know, increasing acreage and square footage of their facilities, or lines and tools inside their current facilities. They're all expanding, and actually I talked to one of them today. Square One broke ground, and they've got 10,000 square feet going under roof, plus 45 for phase 2. On the right-hand side, right now, as of the 30th of June, hiring opportunities in Stephenville. Those manufacturers all said they could hire that number on the right-hand side. We have 308 jobs that we need to educate our own public on. And so with that, I just kind of plant that seed that I've been working on a business retention expansion initiative. More of that information will be coming to you, but dealing and getting in with our educators, manufacturers, and business leaders, and going and taking this information to our workforce so that they're not having to travel elsewhere. They're finding these resources that could potentially be primary jobs and taking care of them right here. So, things to expect from CETA, the joint work session. We're excited to have Mr. Barnes and Mr. Sanford schedule that. We've had to delay it only because of summer schedules. The first quarter's joint work session was wonderful. Everybody wants to be involved, so we don't want to miss that opportunity, and we're looking forward to the next one. We're going to be expanding our communication and education resources and the way we go about doing that. So be looking for that as Jeff continues getting settled into place. And then, like I just talked about, the business retention expansion. So we're very excited. We have a lot going on. I appreciate your patience with us during this hiring time, but I do feel like we're on the right side of things, and we're going to do our best to make you proud. With that, if you have any questions, I'll entertain those now.
Any questions for Ashley?
I do have one question.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
As we've talked about tourism and we've looked at the funds and if we're filling up hotel rooms, we mentioned the cell data contract you had that shows where the,
Yes.
do we still have that contract? We
Retail
can-
touch, yes, we sure do.
We're still doing that?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
So that's something you could share with Julie as we have these events?
Oh,
to
yes.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
We do, and Jeremy and I have sat in on some conference calls together and the ways that we can utilize that, so we sure do need to get Julie in on that and make sure we capitalize on that tool.
Other questions? On June the 26th, I met with Don Nichols, who is Congressman Williams' field staff. And one of the interesting things, he had talked to July, and I mentioned it to Jeff the other day, that he's willing to have our employers and you and the chamber come down to the fort, their Army base. And he said because there's always people every month transitioning out of the military that are looking for work. And he mentioned hundreds, and the term was in the hundreds of names. And so be sure that Jeff gets with July and y'all work out, and I guess Alan too, to come up with some way to communicate that with him, because he's more than happy to help do that.
Thank you. I'll follow up on that.
Any other questions for Ashley? Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We don't have to accept that report, do we? It's not, okay. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve this consent agenda as presented.
Mark moves that we approve the consent agenda as
Second.
presented. Carla seconds it and Mark approves it. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Okay, we approve the consent agenda. Okay, comments by city administrator.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, of course, tomorrow is our 4th of July celebration. Begins with the parade at 9 o'clock. Those who are brave enough to be in the parade, I think their lineup time starts at 6:30. Not y'all's, but
Thank you.
Thank you.
6:30. It ends tomorrow night with the Techstars Ford Summer Concert Series and fireworks. I do want to make sure everybody knows that it starts at 6 o'clock tomorrow, not 8 o'clock tomorrow. Is that right? All right. Also on the 17th, we have our committee meeting scheduled at 5:30. On the 19th, we're going to have a celebration at the Paradigm Building between 4:30 and 6 to celebrate our downtown and the Erath arches being placed on the National Register of Historic Places. Tuesday, July 24th, we're going to have a council workshop at the City Hall at city limits. It's going to start at 12 noon. The 31st, we're going to have a strategic planning work session. It starts at 8 in the morning, and it will be at the meeting room of the City Hall at city limits. Mr. Mayor, to piggyback on what you said about what Mr. Nichols said, Jeremy and I met with the battalion commander and the command master sergeant of the 86th Air Defense Artillery Battalion at Fort Hood the other day, or from Fort Hood. They have essentially adopted Stephenville. It's an outreach of the base. We also talked about the out-processing of the soldiers and told them about the jobs that we had. But also, the base commander wants to involve our community in the goings-on at the base. So as we have more information on what's going on, we'll relay it to council and the public.
Thank you, sir. Comments by council members. Mark?
Well, I would just gently remind everybody it is awfully dry. Be careful tomorrow, but I wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July.
And I hope everybody turns out to participate in all the going-ons tomorrow. We have a parade, I believe, at 9 o'clock, and then we have activities following in the park, and we have a band at the park tomorrow night, so I hope everybody turns out for the 4th of July celebration.
I know I'm gonna forget some people in this, but I apologize, but I wanted to tell Alan, Nick, Jeremy, Cheryl Truss, Chris Stiller, like I said, I'm gonna forget some people, and I apologize to those folks, but those are the only cars I recognize. Usually I get to the office about 7:30 in the morning, and almost every time, every day, those folks are already there at the office here, City Hall working, and of course I leave about 6:30, and they're still here working, and I think that goes unnoticed too often. that these folks are not just putting 40 hours in and going home. They're 50, 60-hour-a-week employees, so I appreciate the work you guys do. Thank you.
No comments.
Alan? I get to talk last.
Well, you didn't do as good as Brady, but you did pretty well considering the length of the agenda.
Thank you, sir.
I want to also remind everyone of how dry it is and how cautious we need to be with outdoor fire and/or fireworks, because we could be in a very serious condition and a very serious problem very quickly. And everybody enjoy the 4th and come to the parade and enjoy the festivities in the park afterwards.
I'd just like to wish everybody a very happy and safe fireless 4th of July. But we're just very, very fortunate. The parade is fun. The fun fair is always fun. All the things we do and the concerts and stuff. But the main thing that we're celebrating is how very, very lucky we are to be in this country, and that we had a good fortune above and beyond anybody else in the world. And
I just first want to start off and say congrats to Noah again. It's a fantastic honor, and congrats. Again, I see some new faces in here. I think it's important to be involved in your city government, and I encourage people to get involved, to come to meetings, to pay attention, to be an advocate for yourself, and it's good to see more people in here. So. Also look forward to seeing everybody 4th of July. My father-in-law was in town not too long ago in one of the concerts down in the park, and he said, "This is so awesome." He said, "We could never do this where I live." He lives in a suburb out in Georgia. And he said, "This is just amazing." And he had the greatest time. So we are very lucky to live in such a good community. Enjoy it. And I'll be a little more blunt than these guys. Please don't do fireworks. It's just not worth it. Our neighbors are burning up everywhere, and it's just too risky as dry as we are, and that's it.
Thank you. I just want to say that tomorrow we celebrate the 242nd anniversary of this great nation. It's a great event. Alan and I actually remember the 200th celebration. Yeah.
I do.
Mr. Nixon. Alan will remind me forever that I'm a year older than him. No nation has done more to protect others from tyranny, help the poor, or promote freedom around the world. I encourage everybody tomorrow to come downtown to help and join with us as we celebrate our nation's birth date. And with that, any other items, more discussion? I'll stand us adjourned then. Thank you.
See you at 6:30.
Thank God.
You sit here, that's email, and I walked out to
No, you didn't.
Riding in the parade tomorrow. Riding